Doc, my husband, has a birthday that falls just before the start of the regular NFL season. He is also a fan of the Chicago Bears. He is not a fan of cake, so he asked me to get or make a cookie cake for him. He likes peanut butter cookies, but all the places I know that sell cookie cakes only do chocolate chip. So I decided to bake one myself. How hard can it be? While I'm at it, I will decorate it in a Chicago Bears motif. I started by choosing an oval roasting pan to bake it in so it has a general football shape. I traced it on parchment paper and cut that out to line the bottom of the pan. If you grease a pan before baking cookies, chances are the bottom of the cookies will burn. So hopefully the parchment paper will allow the cookie cake to release without burning. I spent several days trying to find a peanut butter cookie cake recipe online. I found ways to make chocolate chip cookie cakes and ways to turn cookie dough mix into cake batter. I did not find any instructions on making a peanut butter cookie cake, so I had to come up with one. All of the chocolate chip cookie cake recipes that start with a mix called for using 1 pouch of cookie mix, adding 1 more egg than the cookie mix calls for, and substituting the oil with 1/3 cup of softened butter. Some recommended using a little milk to help thin the dough, so I have that on hand too. I am using a large pan, so I used 2 bags of Betty Crocker peanut butter cookie mix, 4 eggs, since each bag called for 1, 2/3 of a cup of butter, and 1/2 cup of milk. 1 stick of butter is 8 tablespoons, or 1/2 cup. 1/3 of a cup of butter is 5.5 tablespoons. So 2/3 of a cup of butter is 11 tablespoons. That is a whole stick plus 3 tablespoons. That seems like an awful lot of butter to me. Oh well. Everything goes in the mixing bowl. Stir well. I poured the milk in a tiny bit at a time until I had a mixture that was looser than cookie dough but still thicker than cake batter. I used about 1/4 cup, which works out to 2 tablespoons per bag of cookie mix. I spread half of the butter in the parchment paper lined pan almost to the edges of the paper. I tried to leave about 1/8 of an inch margin because peanut butter cookies tend to spread as they bake. I made the assumption that a peanut butter cookie cake batter would spread and fill that void as well. Then I added a layer of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I probably went a little overboard. I think I used about 3/4 of a cup when 1/2 cup would probably have been more than sufficient. The rest of the batter went over the top. I sealed the edges of the batter to keep the chocolate confined to the middle of the cake. The back of the cookie mix bag gives temperature and time instructions for baking small cookies, large cookies, and 1 huge cookie. It also gives separate instructions for using shiny metal or other types of pans. I had to guess for what I was doing. To play it safe, I decided to go with the lowest temperature listed, 325 degrees Fahrenheit. The estimated time for a single large cookie was 15 to 18 minutes. I decided to set the timer for 15 minutes and check it. Nope, not even close. We're going to need at least another 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, a total of 25 at this point, it still didn't quite look ready. I added another 5. Checked it again. The top was starting to brown nicely, but it still seemed a little underdone. I covered the top with foil to keep the top from browning too much and stuck it in for another 5. Finally, after 35 minutes of baking with the last 5 minutes covered with foil, the top was cracking the way peanut butter cookies should, and everything looked pretty good. It still seemed a touch soft in the middle to me. The edges rose more than the center, and that is a little concerning. However, peanut butter cookies are soft when you bring them out of the oven and harden as they cool. I was afraid of overbaking and turning it into a rock, so I decided the cake's done. I completely forgot to turn the camera back on to record that part. You should let the cake cool completely before decorating it. That will take about 2 hours. I baked this the day before Doc's birthday, so I let it cool for an hour, then covered it with aluminum foil until the next morning. If you find this video entertaining or informative, please hit that like button right now. Time to decorate. I bought 2 cans of Betty Crocker creamy vanilla frosting and will color it myself. Always fluff your can frosting up with a mixer. Modern cans give instructions to stir room temperature frosting before use. When I was a child, the cans had a tiny little picture of a hand mixer and told you to whip it for 30 seconds. I'm starting with 1 can and drizzling in a little milk, roughly 1.5 tablespoons, just to loosen it up and help it spread easier. If you happen to have heavy cream on hand, a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of that would work much better. The Chicago Bears colors are navy blue, orange, and usually a white outline. In order to make the navy blue, I used a lot of blue food coloring and 4 drops of black. You can only find black food coloring easily around Halloween. So if you need navy blue the rest of the year, you're going to add a drop of red, mix it thoroughly, and then add a drop of yellow. We don't want a purple shift. Too much red will take it away from blue and into purple, so the yellow helps stabilize it. However, if you use too much yellow, your blue will start to turn brown. Next, I mixed orange. That's easy, right? Just add red and yellow until you get the right shade. Bear's orange is on the dark side, and what I got was a little too bright. So let's add a drop of black and see if we can darken it. Oops, that didn't work. I just made brown. Well, that won't go to waste. It is a football cake, and footballs are brown, so I'll just frost the entire cake. Let's try that orange again. Lots of red, a little yellow, more red, more yellow. Hey, I have a light over the counter that I forgot about. There, that's about as close as I can get to Bear's orange. Time to bring over the cake. Notice that the top has cracked a little. That is usually a sign that peanut butter cookies are done. I wanted to turn the cake out and decorate the underside. That is the main reason I put the parchment paper in the bottom of the pan. Well, it didn't work. The cake remained firmly in the pan. I didn't want to try to pry it out and risk breaking the cake, so we're just going to decorate it in the pan. Why the cake didn't release is a little worrying, though. At this moment, my brain is telling me that there is too much moisture in the cake. That was a lot of butter for one cake. I spread the accidental brown frosting over the cake. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that at this time. I never know exactly what I'm going to do next, but I do try to show useful things from my perspective. I start by cutting off the tip of a new cake decorating bag and assembling the tip with connectors. If you don't have any cake decorating bags, you can use storage bags instead. I'll show you that a little later on. I am not talented enough to actually draw the Chicago Bears logo, so I'm going for the simpler bear claw motif. I used a spatula dipped in water to spread the lines into each other and lift off any mistakes. I created a pointy tip with a paper towel and used that ever so gently to soak up any dripped water. I changed the tip from the round one to the star one to add some detail around the raised edge. I may have thinned the frosting a little too much. The stars just aren't holding their shape very well. I went off camera and thoroughly cleaned the decorating tips. I then prepare a fresh decorating bag and load it with white. Decorating bags can be washed and reused. The easiest way to get the tips out is to remove the coupler and then turn the bag inside out. An inside-out bag is also easier to wash. Do not put them in the dishwasher. Hand wash them, let them air dry completely, and then turn them right side out so you can use them again. I'm using a fresh bag here because I don't have time to wait for the first one to dry. Earlier, I told you that you can use zipper storage bags instead of decorating bags. I will demonstrate that with the orange frosting in a snack-sized bag. First, I snipped off the very tip of the end of one bag to use for simple lines. That is the equivalent of a round tip. I am using a second snack-sized bag to show you that the couplers and tips will work with storage bags too. Using the star tip to add the orange stars, I realized that I had my spacing way wrong towards the end here. So we have double orange stars in 2 places. No one's perfect. I did this because I love Doc and I wanted to do something special for his birthday. He does not expect perfection from me, as I do not expect perfection from him. I have a feeling outtakes from this video will end up on my Patreon. The link to that will be in the description below. We are at the moment of truth. Did I score a touchdown or did I fumble the ball? Cutting into it, I can tell immediately that there is too much fat. It feels very soft. It lifts from the pan easily. Now for the taste test. I will boost the original audio from the recording and let you hear Doc's opinion.
Doesn't seem too gooey though. I was checking the bottom and it doesn't seem too gooey.
No, it's very soft.
Well,
I think
that's what we'd be looking for though.
Yeah, no. I would like it a little firm, I think decreasing the butter.
Yeah.
Just like one stick instead of like a stick and a portion, you know?
Oh, that's good. Good job. Good job.
I think it's a keeper.
Yeah, definitely take a piece for your friend.
Yeah, I was just expecting a bear paw. I wasn't expecting bear down on the cake. You absolutely killed it with the frosting colors.
Yeah. That's as close to navy as I can get.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to get actual navy blue. That's pretty good. So let me tell you, as a man that's ate many and many cookie cake,
Okay.
this is better than anything you can buy at a mall.
Alright.
And that's all I wanted, was something that would taste like it was out of a mall. This is way better.
It's better than a mall cake. I still think I need to back off on the butter a little bit.
You're correct. It is very rich, which is why I'm taking a step back for a second.
It's too much for you, huh?
Well, after all the protein, yeah.
This recipe is under construction. The cake turned out very moist and super rich. I do not recommend frosting the entire cake. That was overkill on the sweet end. I also believe that 2/3 of a cup of butter was a bit too much. For cookies, each bag called for 3 tablespoons of oil. I think swapping that for 3 tablespoons of butter would be sufficient. Since I used 2 bags of mix for this cake, that would be 6 tablespoons or 3/4 of a single stick. I also think we need to zero in on the baking time and temperature a bit. I believe the oven was not hot enough for the middle to rise evenly with the sides. In the future, I think I will try it again at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm thinking I will bake it for 20 to 25 minutes, cover it with foil, and then put it back in for another 5 to 10. Thank you all for watching today. I would love to hear your comments and input on this one. If any of you try this on your own, absolutely come back and share your results. Doc wants this to become a birthday tradition, so I will be doing this again in about a year. I would love to use your suggestions on improving it. I guess that's about it for today. Feel free to stop by anytime.